What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about Q4 once again because it's super important. And we're going to be covering 5 simple tips to increase sales for this Q4. Now, depending on when you're listening to this, these are all going to be able to be used no matter if you're listening to this before Halloween or if you're listening to this before Thanksgiving or Christmas. You can plug these in pretty much any time of the year, but really we're talking about how we can take these and apply them for Q4. The other thing that we're doing here, because this is also, it's a podcast episode, but it's also going to be a live stream where we're going to be answering questions about our upcoming our Q4 Etsy training camp, which I'm really excited about. If you guys want more information on that, if you have not yet grabbed a ticket and it is before August 9th, head on over to brandcreators.com/camp and you can come join us if you want to. And it's going to be a 4-week long camp where we're going to be getting ready for the season, getting ready for Q4, kind of like our football preseason. We're going to be training for 4 weeks together. So if you're interested, make sure that you check that out. I'll go ahead and throw that banner up here on the page if you are watching this. But if you're listening, you can just go to that page. If you are listening or even watching and it's after the 9th, you can still go there. If we have another one that we're going to do here in the next, let's see, it would be the next 4 or 5 weeks, depending on when you're listening to this. We'll go ahead and notify you of when that is happening. All right. So with that all being said, if you do have any questions for us on Q4, now's the time. Also drop them in the comments. If you're listening to this on the podcast, you can always submit your questions over to support@brandcreators.com and we can answer it on an upcoming live stream. All right. So with that being said, Chris is actually in a new location today. So Chris, where are you right now? Can you jump on the camera here and tell us where you're at?
I am in your kitchen.
Oh yeah, you are. You're over there. You're in the other room, aren't you?
I think you're there.
Yeah, so Chris is actually here visiting, going to be heading up to his parents' house as well in Pennsylvania. So that'll be coming here soon. But he made a trip here. He's going to spend 4 or 5 days here. So super excited that he's actually here in person. We're going to be teaching the first of the Etsy training camp in person here. That's going to be this Wednesday. So really excited. So Chris, let's go ahead and jump in to the very first thing that we want to kind of bring to people's attention, but also something that you should be thinking about in order to increase your chances of getting more sales for the Q4. Now, I'm not going to use this one here as like the number one thing that you should be doing, but I'm going to say that this first one is really important. But before we even get to that, the first thing I want to say, and this isn't even included in one of the 5, is start early, start right now. So if you're listening to this and it's before Halloween, start right now. If it's before Thanksgiving, start right now. Christmas, start right now. It really does have a huge impact on what you can do because we have to get going now. And I mean, get going. We have to start optimizing. We have to start adding more products. All of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you in these five tips, they need to be done as soon as possible. All right. So the first official tip that I'm going to give you guys is this. And you probably heard me talk about this before, but I'm going to say it probably for the next, I don't know, however long I'm doing this, next 25 years. We have to niche down. All right. And this is really important for when you are feeling like you're trying to serve so many different niches that you're like, okay, I'm going to sell a t-shirt for people that are into bass fishing. I'm going to sell a t-shirt for people that are just coffee lovers. I'm going to sell a t-shirt for people that are fill in the blank, right? We need to get more specific because everyone is doing the same thing. So what we need to do is we need to focus our energy on a specific niche. And we like to think about it as if we're building a brand. So if we were to take sports and outdoors, we would then want to look and find some of those subcategories. So what else is in sports and outdoors? Well, then we would start honing in on maybe hiking or camping. And then maybe we all say, okay, what do they do when they go hiking and camping? Well, some people go fishing. Okay, let's throw in fishing. Okay, what else do they do? Well, some people go hunting. Okay, let's throw that in there. So they're kind of related, but we want to find 1, 2, or 3 and then just kind of go all in right now so we can really stand out. All right. And then the other thing that's going to happen is a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about here in a second, is also going to benefit you because now we're focusing on that one customer, right? The one customer that has that one interest. And that one interest is something that they will buy more things in that, in that time that they're purchasing. Okay. So that's another thing that we want to do. And all of our marketing efforts can really hone in on that customer and really leverage that one buyer. All right. So number one is niching down. And that's a big mistake that I see a lot of people making is they're like, I'm going to go in on all these different niches and we're just going to serve them all. And it's going to be great. It becomes more complicated and you're not going to stand out. All right. And you're not going to be able to get multiple purchases from one customer. It's going to be a lot harder. All right. So Chris, anything you want to mention there on that? And also I will say this, if you are here with us live, let us know in the comments, are you focusing on one niche right now? Just curious. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think there's two things. And I think there's two main reasons why people get confused with this and why we give the advice that we give. Because they see some stores on Etsy that sell t-shirts to 500 different niches and they are having success. The thing that most people don't understand is that that has happened over 5, 6, 7 years. You don't want to spread yourself too thin, especially when you are getting started. The other thing is you can go broad across those and see some success with that. The problem is you can have one product that sells really well to fishermen. You can have one product that sells really well to kayak lovers, and maybe you have a crossover product for kayak bass fishermen. But the problem is you are always playing the customer acquisition game when you use that approach. You're always trying to find someone new to buy a t-shirt or to buy a tumbler or to buy a pillow, whatever it is that you're selling across a bunch of different niches. And the easiest way to get around that is to do exactly what you said, Scott, and niche down. We don't have to be nearly as worried about competition. When we are niche down, we can see much higher profit margins on products when we are niche down. And when we acquire one customer, there is a very high likelihood that they will buy multiple products from us. And Scott, you and I were talking last night because your phone was going off nonstop because you put a new product in the store, or your wife launched a new product in the store that was a Christmas product, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. And people who had bought from us in the past were favoriting it essentially every 10 seconds. And that was sending a new notification to your phone, right? And this is a Christmas product. They're not buying it yet. It is the first week of August as we're recording this, but we're already thinking about that. And our customers are already planning to buy that from us. If you are selling a bunch of different stuff in a bunch of different niches, there's a much lower chance that anybody who's bought from you in the past, when you post your next Christmas product, is one, even going to see it, or two, even going to care that you're doing that, because 99.9% of the things that they see coming out of your shop are not relevant to them. So you have lower investment on the side of your customer, which means you have less likelihood of them ever finding you again. And when you use the niched down model, you can start to build in that customer base. We now know, yes, not everybody that was favoriting that product last night is going to end up buying it. But again, August, first week of August. And also a huge portion of those people are going to buy it, whether they buy it at full price, whether we run a promotion on it later on during Q4 and they come in and buy it. We're going to have a built-in sales base from people who have purchased from us in the past. And if you use the niche-based model, you will see the same thing happen. That is not something that you see happen in what we've referred to in the past as like a general store or a product-based store, right? Somebody who creates mugs for a bunch of different niches. And so that's something I want people to keep in mind. One, less competition. Two, higher margins and a built-in customer base. I guess technically that's three different things. So one, less competition. Two, built-in customer base. And three, the ability to sell more products.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge. And you're right. Like, so last night we were hanging out, had some dinner, and I had said to you, I go, man, I got to turn this Etsy notification thing off. It's kind of annoying me because I was getting all of these little chimes and these little noises, right? And in reality, it's a good thing because, like you said, my wife was putting up a couple of new products and they were for Christmas. Actually, they weren't even for Halloween. She's already done a bunch of those and she's continuing to, but she had an idea for one. She wanted to launch it. And then people started favoring it almost immediately. And that's the benefit of serving one niche, or one that's at least related to other sub niches in your shop, is when you post something, they're going to be notified. So that's a great thing. And we're going to get into something that can really happen. That's cool. That can happen once you go ahead and you're able to now add these new products, but then also automate some stuff that will allow these people to also have a chance to buy with getting a little bit of a benefit. All right. So we'll talk about that here in a second. So let's move on to the second thing that I want to share with everyone. And that is exactly what we just said, why that triggered that. Why did that trigger those notifications and those favorites? Adding new products, right? And I know that sounds super simple, but you have to be also strategic about it. Like right now, the time of doing this and recording this session here is, we're in beginning of August. So a lot of people aren't really going to buy for Halloween, or they're not thinking they want to buy for Halloween. But if they get something that's of interest, or they see something and they like it, they might not buy it right now, but they will favorite it right now. And when they favorite it, that's a really good sign. Number one, that people like the product, but number two, it's also now going to allow us and Etsy to basically send them a notification of if something goes on sale, or maybe if we're running out of stock on that item. It allows us to be able to connect with that person, even though they might not have purchased. And that's a thing that a lot of people miss. But adding new products is a great way to, number one, just add more to your base, add more to your shop. So this way here, people have more that they could buy, right? Like, and we talked about in the very first thing was niching down and finding that one niche. Well, if you come into that shop and you find something that is of interest to you, but then you see something else that's related to that could go well with it, there's a better chance of you buying that and increasing your cart value. So that's why launching products, we love launching the products, because yes, we get sales, right? That's great. We get favorites. We get people that are new that have never found us, because now we're getting indexed for those. And if we're advertising those, it's another thing that we can put in front of those people that they might not have purchased something else, but they like that, right? And so it's a great way to be able to really get products in there that can serve the business. And it can start to let people know that, hey, I've got stuff for Halloween, or hey, I got stuff for Thanksgiving or fall or Christmas or whatever. So the benefits of that are really, really big. So right now, you should be thinking about, okay, what products am I going to create and launch? And sometimes it's taking a design that you've already put on a product and putting it on another product, and then just using that, right? And that's a fresh listing. It's a brand new product. All right. So really important. That's something that I think you should be considering. You should be thinking about. If you're not, make sure that you do. And again, this is exactly what we're going to be doing inside of our Etsy training camp, by the way. So a little shameless plug here. We're going to be going really deep into all of these areas and more. But one of them is definitely like finding those products that have good demand that you can start adding and kind of loading into your shop like right now. Really, really important. So Chris, anything you wanted to mention on the product side as far as the benefits, and like anything I might've left out?
A few things really fast. First, adding new products is all about having more lines in the water, right? Like the more products we have, the more opportunities we have to sell. But to me, this is actually a little bit of a double-edged sword. If you're not following piece of advice number one, right? Way number one to increase sales and niching down, you run into an issue where you can be spreading yourself a little thin, especially if you're doing something like running Etsy ads. And I know we literally just had somebody ask, and Heather, we'll get to that question here in a minute, about how to choose what products to run Etsy ads on and all of those kinds of things. And if we're launching products to 15 different niches, then it becomes a little bit more complicated than being able to use the philosophy of rising tides lift all boats, right? If I get a visit from somebody in the fishing niche and everything in my store is in the fishing niche, even if they don't buy that product, maybe they favorite something, maybe they add it to the cart, maybe they go visit my store page, and everything that they are finding there is relevant to their interest. If they're coming in from the travel niche into my travel stuff, and they go to look at my store page and they see bass fishing and Blackstone Grill and volleyball and dog stuff and chicken stuff and air fryer stuff, I'm just looking around the kitchen, y'all. Then there's a much bigger possibility that they leave without doing anything, and we lose some of the benefits of that traffic, not to mention the sales thing. The other thing I wanted to mention here, Scott, is if we're using that niche down approach and you have a niche, you have built-in sales and traffic when you launch new products. Scott, what is the number one thing that the Etsy algorithm absolutely loves?
Sales.
And the number two thing?
Well, I would say on that would probably be, well, your conversion is part of your sale metric, but I would say probably your reviews and your kind of your feedback on that.
Yeah, so it's traffic and sales, right? Those are the two things that we always talk about. And traffic leads to add to carts, which leads to purchases, which is what influences your conversion rate. And so when you have a niche, you have really nice built-in traffic and also built-in sales. Now, obviously, not everybody is going to buy your product, but to the same point I was making when we were talking about the niche stuff a minute ago, right? Literally, the perfect example of this is what happened last night when you launched Christmas products, right? Etsy went, hey, you might be really interested in this. And we were getting favorite after favorite after favorite after favorite. Yes, those people weren't buying, but that's already sending all of the good signals to the Etsy algorithm that this is a product that they might want to be interested in. Does Etsy immediately put that at the top of the generic search terms? No, but they also know that it's a new product. It's a Christmas product. They're seeing people giving them almost all of the signals that they want, right? I don't know if we had any add to carts on it or any sales on it yet, but it's starting to show Etsy that that's a product that people are interested in. What is Etsy going to do when more people start to search for that? They're going to go, let's take a look at the history of this product and start to send more people there. Because this one, every time we show it to somebody, they favorite it or they add it to the cart or they do something that is a positive signal to Etsy. And if we're using the niche-based approach, then not only do we get that from just the generic idea of the niche, but every time that we add a product, it gets a little bit of a signal boost, if you will, in the Etsy algorithm right away, because we have a built-in base of people who are interested, and they're showing Etsy that when people who like this stuff see it, that they favorite, they add to cart, they buy, and that gives us a boost even faster when we pair that with thing number one, right, which is the niche-based approach. Scott, do you have a rule for how many products people should be launching? Like, is there a rule of thumb that is enough or too many products? Like, what is the mix that people should be looking for here?
Well, I don't look at it as like we have to have 25 products, right? It's like, I don't look at it that way. Although it is nice to have, like, I want to launch 30 products in 30 days. We call that our 30-day product blitz, right? So it doesn't mean they have to all be for that holiday or for that occasion or whatever. But I think in the very beginning, you want to have a good solid base of products. So I would say a minimum you want is like 25, 30 products, but they don't all have to be new designs and all that stuff. That's where people kind of get hung up. It can just be a design put on various products that people could buy. But I would say, like, right now, like, we have not talked, and I say we, myself and my wife, we haven't said like, oh, we have to have, 20 products launched for Halloween, right? It's just however many makes sense, then we kind of go from there. Now, if we only had 5 products, I'd say I want to have 10, right? I want to have more. So the more to me isn't always the better, but it is like finding the right products and then building off of those. And that's really what we've always done. It's kind of like, once you get through a year or two and you can kind of see the sales history, you see what's resonated with people, then you can kind of build off of that. If you're first starting, you're going to have to kind of sample more things to see what your audience is going to be into, right? And so that's where you can kind of build off of that. But I wouldn't say like there's an exact number, and I wouldn't force it. I wouldn't just throw up stuff because you think the more products you have, the better, because they could be products that are very low demand and you might make 1 or 2 sales for the season. Who cares, right? I'd rather focus my energy on products that I know have a higher demand. So I don't think there's a set number.
So is there something in saying, hey, if we could get out a design a week, and this is something, again, you mentioned applying a design to multiple products. This is something I think people miss when we talk about launching products or doing any of those kinds of things. They assume that a product is the same thing as a design and vice versa. But if we could get out 1 design a week, is that a good pace? Like, what would a good pace be for somebody, especially if they're just starting out, because they don't have that back catalog of everything that sold last year? And if somebody's looking just for, hey, this will kind of get me where I want to be, is it 1 design a week, 2 designs a week? Because then we could turn that into 5, 6, 20 products if we wanted to, if it's something that starts to sell well. So is there like a piece of guidance that we could give to people along that route?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, in my own head, I would say I want to have 5 new designs created, and how many I do in a week is really dependent on the individual as far as how much time they have. Right. So if it was me and I'm working a full-time job and I'm like, okay, I can spend an hour a day on it, I'd want to create a new design in that hour. Right. So I might have to do an hour's worth of research first. That might be 1 day's worth of work. And then I'm going to sit down and go, okay, I've got 5 design ideas I want to do. And then I'm going to sit down and do one design for that day. So it might be creating one design per day. And then I might switch it over to where, okay, I'm going to create one design. I'm going to put it on 5 different products. And then I'm going to repeat that. So that's kind of how I look at it. And it's going to depend on how much time you have. But I would say, yeah, I mean, at the very least, like one design per week that would go on 5, 6 products. Like that's kind of what I would say. But again, I'd want to do that research. That research part is really important to do that, to make sure that you're not just creating products that aren't going to get many views, aren't going to get much traction, you know?
Well, and I think that's an interesting 3-step process, and most people skip the first step of that, right? Which is the research phase, which that's one of the things, again, going back to point number 1. And I know we say like nicho all the time, and that's kind of a joke even between the two of us, right? Because of how much we say the word. But that really does speed up the first part of that process, because then we're really only focused on the design side, right? We can speed up that research. We don't have to dig around all of Etsy. We only have to look at the fishing stuff or the kayak stuff or the hunting stuff, whatever it is that is our niche, our nicho, just to make everybody happy. We can speed that process up. So what I think I just heard you say was basically, was it 5 designs per holiday? Like, what was that rough rule? And again, guys, we're just talking through this because I know it's a question that's going to come up.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that would be a good rule of thumb. But again, there's no rules. Okay. And guys, I threw up on the page here on the link for Everbee. If you guys haven't tried that, I would definitely try it. Yes, we're an affiliate. Yes, you would buy me a cup of coffee, which you can see I've got my coffee right here and I love it. But we use it every single day. So, you know, I would definitely try it. You can get 10 free searches a month. But if you want to upgrade to the pro plan, even for a month, it's really going to be worth it, because you want to do that research. You want to find those products that have demand or those designs. So with that being said, Chris, yeah, I think that would be a good rule of thumb. Like, I think we all have to have targets. We all have to have like an idea of what we're going to do and give ourselves guidelines and deadlines and all of that stuff, because that's how we get stuff done. But I think that would be safe. Like, let's create 5 designs per holiday and let's see how that goes, right? And if we feel like we have inspiration for more products, then we'll build off of that, right? But right now, I would say, yeah, I would like to have 5 designs per holiday leading in, but those 5 designs could turn into 25 products, okay? So that's kind of how I would look at it. That's kind of how I would attack it.
I think I really like that, because when you say 5 designs, it doesn't sound like a lot. And then you say, look, here's how we can do this. This could be 15, 20, 25 products, because we're not just applying this to one t-shirt and then, you know, multiple sizes of that. We're saying we can put this on a t-shirt, on a pillow. And if it's a design that actually resonates with your niche, then having that across multiple products massively increases the ability of that to be purchased. It increases your return on time, which I think is something not a lot of people look at. Because if we're sitting down and Scott, you're saying, you know, I'm going to do an hour's worth of research, give or take, to come up with 4 or 5 design ideas, and then it's going to take me about an hour each. Once you get into the product creation phase, you're just taking that design and making sure that it's sized correctly and placed correctly on the product. And that makes taking those 6-7 hours of research and design time and scaling that up much, much easier. Instead of having to worry about coming up with 25 unique ideas, you're coming up with 5 as a baseline to start with. And then if you have, you know, if the inspiration strikes, like I know your wife said it struck her on the airplane yesterday for a few different things. And so, you know, if inspiration strikes, that's great. And you can keep doing that. But if you set that as a baseline, that gives you 25 lines in the water for Halloween, 25 lines in the water for Thanksgiving, 25 lines in the water for Christmas. And then next year, even if that's all that you did, then you have 50, then you have 75. And so that starts to scale exponentially really quickly without you having to invest a lot more time. So I kind of like that as a rough rule of thumb. If you can come up with 5 designs and apply them to 5 products, that gives you a big coverage in your niche for each different holiday that we have coming up.
Yeah, no, I like that. All right, cool. Let's move on. We got a bunch more to cover, and I want to do some questions and stuff too. So let's go ahead and dig in. So the third tip here is, and I've said this before, and if you guys are new, you might not have heard me say this before, but this is a big one, and that is getting your internal marketing set up and your internal Etsy marketing set up. And this is, again, where everything kind of compounds on each other. So if you kind of start kind of looking at this a little bit differently, like your you're creating products for a certain niche, because we've established that we're going to go into this niche, but at least sub niches, right? That are related, that the one customer could buy 2, 3, 4 different products, right? And then we move into adding more products. So we've done that. Check, right? The next thing is like, okay, now we're going to start getting some traffic in, and we might get traffic in organically because, we have, more products. Like Chris said, more lines in the water. So we have more chances of people finding our stuff and all of that, even without even running any Etsy ads at this point. And when we get people coming in, well, then we want to capitalize on, if someone favorites an item, we can turn on an automation inside of Etsy that will then send them a coupon code on our behalf. And then the other one is if someone comes to our shop, but they're not ready to buy, but they add it to their cart and they want to buy, but they're going to wait because, well, they might want to buy something else from someone else. And, you do that on Amazon a lot too. You just add to cart so you don't lose it or whatever. Well, we can send out a coupon code that says, hey, take 10% off, right? Here's a little incentive for you. And then the third one is if someone does buy, well, we're going to set up another automation that will send them a coupon that says, hey, thank you so much for your order. Here's a special gift for you because we want to thank all of our loyal customers, right? So those are things we need to set up like immediately. So set those up. That's a real easy one to do. But if you think about logically how this is all working, it's like we pick a niche, they can buy more than just one item. So that's good. Then we have more products, more lines in the water, and then we have more traffic coming in. So now we want to leverage that traffic by using the internal automation to then encourage people to buy if they haven't already bought, or buy more after they've purchased. So that's a real clean one. That's a real easy one. And that will definitely increase sales. All right. So Chris, anything you want to add to that before we move on to number 4?
Real fast. Abandoned carts, email, right? All of these things are extremely popular in the e-commerce world for one big reason. They work. Average abandoned cart rate across every website that does e-commerce is about 70%, right? So that means 70% of people who add something to their cart are never going to buy that. 70 out of 100. That's insane to me. All you have to do is set this up once. And even if you just perform at the industry average, for every 100 people that add something to the cart, you pick up an extra 5 sales. And the way that I came to that number, Scott, is when you look at abandoned cart recovery type stuff, which is really what we're talking about here at the most basic level, about 45% of people open those emails or those notifications when they get them, right? 21% of people click, 50% of people who click buy. That's about 5 out of every 100. How would you like 5 free sales from every 100 people that add something to your cart for having to set something up one time? That to me is one of the biggest returns on investment that you can have from a marketing perspective, because you could set it up today, never touch it again, and have 5 extra sales coming in for every 100 people that add something to a cart. That is a massive difference in a business. And it's something that most people skip over because they go, oh, I'll get to it later. Don't get to it later. Set it up. Even if you set it up in the worst way possible, you're still going to get extra sales for doing nothing more. It is the easiest thing that you can do, and it's going to bring you sales day after day after day, especially as you start to grow, because the more you grow, the more traffic you have, the more people are adding stuff to a cart, the more people are leaving stuff there and forgetting that you ever existed. And if we set that up, we can start to bring in more and more sales from that same amount of activity.
Yeah, no, it's a no-brainer. And I know we had someone in the comments that said, thanks, I set the emails up and got some extra sales these last days. That's awesome. Then I had another person, Jennifer, I believe it was, says, already doing this on Etsy and have not yielded results. Well, it also depends on how many have been sent out, right? Like, even though you can send out these emails, or Etsy can, they have to allow them to. So there's a certain percentage that aren't. So it does come down to a numbers game. If we're only talking like you've had, 25 emails go out and no one purchased yet, well, maybe the coupon isn't high enough. Maybe you need to up your coupon, or maybe it just wasn't the right 25, because usually you got to get 100 results before, or 100 of anything before you can kind of start saying like, okay, did it work? Didn't it work? So I would say you need to look at your numbers. Maybe you have enough numbers. I don't know. It doesn't work for everyone, right? Who knows? Your audience might be different, but it's there. Why not use it? That's how I look at it. All right, moving on. Number 4. All right. Now, number 4 is another thing that will happen. And the thing that'll happen is you'll get more sales, is if we can get more positive reviews. All right. Now, this is really important, but you can't get a review if you can't get a sale, right? So we got to get those sales. We got to get more products out there. We got to turn on our internal marketing and all that stuff. And then once we start to get sales, how do we get those people to leave reviews? And I don't know what the exact number is, but I've kind of noticed, I think it's like maybe maybe 5 to maybe on the high end 10% of people will leave a review. And that's just like organically, naturally, like as your sale goes through, and then Etsy will kind of remind people to kind of leave some feedback. But there's some things that we can do to increase that, I believe. So the very first thing that I would do is make sure that you're communicating with people that have either purchased or that might purchase, right? So you make sure that you do that. Like that's sometimes people miss that piece and they're like, well, okay, I'll message them within 24 hours. Wouldn't it be better to message them within an hour? Right? Like I know that you might think to yourself, like, well, I don't really tied to my phone. I get it, but maybe in Q4, you kind of got to be a little bit more responsive. Remember, this is a short window. And if you can kind of just work your butt off a little bit in this fourth quarter, you might be able to take some months off. That's kind of like how we look at it. Yes, we want steady sales, but this is a huge opportunity to really capitalize. So I would say the first thing is make sure that you're already communicating with people. If people have questions, answer those things. The second thing is there's nothing wrong and there's nothing in the terms of service that says you can't reach out to a customer after they've purchased and say, hey, I just want to make sure that everything's cool. Did you get your product? Are you happy with it? Do you have any questions? And can you do me a quick favor? Can you go leave me a review on your experience? Now, I didn't say you go leave me a positive review. I'm not like making sure that they only leave me a positive review. I'm like, I'm letting them know, like, it would mean the world to me if you would do this. I'm a small business. Remember this. I'm a small business, and your review really helps my business to let other people know if I did a good job or not. Right. And if I didn't do a good job, please let me know because I want to make sure I do a great job for you. That's it. Like you can just copy that down, rewind this, and then copy that down. That's what I would suggest doing because number one, you're being real. You're a real person, right? My wife will say sometimes, I'm sorry it took me a little bit longer to get back to you. I was on the plane with my daughter going to a beach volleyball camp. She literally says that. And people are like, oh, Lisa, no problem. I totally understand. Thanks so much for getting back to me. I hope you had a great trip with your daughter, right? Like those little things, those subtle things are huge. And then that person, guess what? They'll leave you a review, right? Because they know you're not this big, massive company that doesn't really care about you, right? So really important to do that. That's what I would say. Focus on those. And then when you do get those, here's another little tip here, little bonus tip, is take that and then take one of those positive reviews and then create a picture slide with your product or just even with the review. If someone sends you a picture of the product and they have a great thing to say about it, clip that out, put it in an image, and then just put a little 5-star review there if they left you a 5-star review, and then just do a little quote from that review. And then that way there, people that aren't going into your reviews, they see that in your pictures. So that's another little hack there for you. And what this will do is it will increase sales because it's known that we all are buying off of other people's reviews, right? We all do it. We all go there and we want to look at the reviews. Are they positive? Are they negative? What are the negative? What are people saying? Are they legit? Like all of this stuff. And then that helps us make a buying decision. And then when we get that to that place, we're going to pull the trigger and we're going to actually buy. What does that do? That triggers the algorithm because now it says, oh, this listing is converting really well and it's getting sales. Let's put them up higher and let's promote those guys because they're making more sales. And when they send traffic there, it converts higher. So that's what I would say on reviews. Nothing to mess around with. Those are really powerful. And that's a huge thing to start thinking about as you're moving into fourth quarter. And right now that you're not maybe super busy is a great time to start doing that because you don't need a ton of reviews. You just need some reviews and they need to be positive. All right, Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just real quick. You said pretty much everybody, and the stats back you up on that. 93+% of people, depending on what survey you look at, say that reviews have an impact on their decision, either positive or negative. And at the end of the day, what this is really about is increasing conversion rate. We were talking, Scott, about sales and traffic being the thing that really influences Etsy's search algorithm. Well, the thing that connects traffic to sales is how many people convert. If we can increase the number of people who are converting because we have even just a handful of reviews on each of our products, then we can really start to skyrocket where we are placed in the algorithm. This is so important. And Scott, you and I have been talking about this over the last few days, that Amazon has started paying people to leave reviews. Yes, they are video reviews through the Amazon influencer program, but they are literally rewarding people for leaving reviews because they know that even on products that Amazon doesn't sell themselves, and I think we were talking about this stat yesterday, 70+% of everything on Amazon is sold by smaller people, right? They know that even when it's not their stuff directly, that if there's a video review or a handful of written reviews on a product, that's going to increase conversion rate, which does what? Makes Amazon more money. The same logic applies on Etsy. And since we are launching these products on Etsy as the seller, we should be spending the extra 2 minutes to try to increase our conversion rate. And yes, this is not the same evergreen type of a thing as setting up the internal marketing stuff like we just talked about in the last tip, but it does give you an outsized return on investment. Again, anything we can do to reduce that number of 70% of people who are adding stuff to a cart that aren't ending up purchasing is a good thing. And if we can get even just a handful of reviews by spending the extra 2-3 minutes reaching out and making sure, doing the basic customer service small business thing of saying, hey, did your order come okay? Great, awesome, I'm glad you like it. Would you mind leaving a review? You can just copy and paste that into the message and be done with it. But you're going to increase your number of reviews on each of the products that you're selling. That's going to increase your conversion rate, which is going to increase the number of sales that you get, which is going to increase your traffic because Etsy gives you better placement, which is then going to increase the sales. This is what is the Etsy SEO flywheel that we've talked about in the past. I love trying to get more reviews on stuff because it increases conversion rate, which at the end of the day makes us more money. And anything we can do, especially in like 2 minutes worth of our time to make more money, is always a good thing in my mind.
Love it. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. First off, if you guys are getting value from this podcast, from this live stream at all, do me a favor. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and click that like button. Or as I said earlier, and some of you liked it and some of you didn't, can you just tickle it a little bit? Give it a little love. I would love if you would do that because it helps us also within YouTube, and it also helps other people see this video. And we're hoping that people see it, that it can help. So if you guys can do that, that would be amazing. That's only if you're getting value, by the way. We would appreciate that. The other thing is, before we do move on, I mentioned this in the beginning, we are doing a Etsy Q4 training camp, which is a 4-week long training camp that we're doing. We're going to meet once a week, and we're going to be helping each other prepare and really get ready to crush Q4. And we're going to be going over things that we're talking about right here. We're just going to go much deeper. We're going to do some private Etsy audits for our or calling them our Etsy Q4 campers. And so we're going to be doing those. So if you guys want to join us, just head on over to brandcreators.com/camp. And if you go there and it's after we already start the camp, well, you can get on the wait list. And that's if we open it again, you can join us at that later date before Q4. But this is going to be a very time sensitive thing because as we are teaching this and sharing and helping, it's going to be in real time. So we're going to be doing this and then applying and getting ready. So we are all geared up and ready for Q4, which really to me officially kicks off for us in September. Is really when it really kicks off. Right now, we're just kind of setting things up, planting seeds and things like that. September is when it kind of starts. And then October is when it really starts to kick off. So we want to be ready. If you guys want to be ready with us, you want some help, you want to join this group of people that are also going to be going through this camp, and we're all motivated and really just to helping each other, head on over to brandcreators.com/camp. All right. So the 5th tip that I want to share with you guys, and that is something, again, that a lot of people aren't doing, and that is running sales. Now, before you say, Scott, isn't that obvious, running sales? There's a little twist that I don't see people doing, and it can really help you. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But what we want to do is we want to start running sales, but we want to run sales, I call them short sales. And what I mean by that is we want to set up a sale that expires in 7 days. And a couple different reasons. Number one is then we can kind of play with some pricing, right? We can say, okay, we want to do 20% off. We want to do 30, 40, whatever, right? And there's also some strategies that we can use for getting sales faster. So we can kind of spike the algorithm, which I'll share that tip here after we get done with this one. I'll share a little bonus tip with you of what we're doing and how we can really leverage a sale and Etsy ads. So I'm going to get to that here in a second. But when we're running these Etsy sales, or these short sales, as I call them, we're number one, notifying people that have already favorited our shop, favorited items, right? So we talked about that. That's why everything's building on each other, right? We've got our niche, we've got our sub niches, we've got products that are related to those niches and those sub niches. And then we are, from there, we're going to be doing our internal marketing, and we're going to start getting emails sent out privately to these people from Etsy. We're going to also be notifications are going to be being sent out because as we're adding new products, people are getting notified. And then we're going to run a sale. People are going to get notified, right? And so you see how this kind of all kind of ties together. So the other cool thing is when it's a short sale like that is in the very last, I think it's the 24 hours, you start to see like there's only 12 hours left. So it starts to count down as if the sale's ending, right? And it'll even show a little slider that'll come in and it'll say, hurry, right? You've probably seen that where it says, hurry, sale ends in whatever, or hurry, only 9 left in stock, like any of that stuff, right? You'll see that little widget slide in. We want to take advantage of that. So what I like to do is run what we call short sales. Okay. Usually it's 7 days or less. If we want to try to do something where we're testing a sale or testing a pricing or testing a percentage, we might run it for 3 days. Then we got a shorter window, right? So that's what we're doing there. Tip number 5 is running what we call short sales. All right. And one little extra thing here I would say is you also want to make your sale a good sale, like not like 5% off. Like, and if you're selling digital items, by the way, and they're like $295, but you're going to give 10% off, does it really matter? Like, do you really care? Like if you're buying that, you're like, oh, cool, I saved 25 cents. Awesome. Right. Instead of being like, oh, wow, like here's a, I don't know, a flag I'm going to buy and it's normally $40, but I can get it for 20% off. Right. It's a bigger amount. So we take that more seriously. So I would definitely make sure that if you're doing these sales, short sales, and also making sure that the offer that you're doing is a good offer, right? Is something that's, someone stops and says, wow, that's a great deal. All right. So I am going to share that little thing that we're going to talk about as far as using like Etsy ads and sales and how we can combine them and why that's important and what we're doing and kind of like our mindset. But Chris, anything you want to touch on there on the last one that we just went over, or are we good to go?
Again, I feel like I'm beating a little bit of a dead horse, which is something that I would never do because it's pointless anyway. But this is all about increasing conversion rates, right? Anytime you have a countdown, whether you're losing a discount or something like that, conversions will increase. You guys have all probably heard us use the example in the past of Kohl's Cash, right? Your Kohl's Cash is going to expire. You're going to go to Kohl's and redeem that free money. The same thing applies here. You're going to increase conversion rate, which is going to increase click-through rate from the search results on Etsy, which means Etsy gives you better placement, which means they give you more traffic, and you're going to increase the conversion rate once people get to the listing, which means what? More sales, which fuels what? More traffic. And if you can do this with those deadlines, then you start to massively increase that. And Scott, I know we're going to get the question if we haven't already, and I actually just saw it pop in from Heather, which is, is there any reason you wouldn't do this every 24 or 48 hours? Why are you talking about running a 7-day sale? One, if everything is always on a deadline, then it's not really a deadline, at least for your recurring customers. And 2, it's just kind of a giant pain in the butt to manage to have to go in every day and remember, okay, at 9 a.m., I got to go in and turn my sale back on, all of those kinds of things. You get 99.9% of the same benefit out of it without having to worry about going in and trying to turn it on every single day. Now, are there times where you may want to do that? Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday. Maybe you run something special for those different days and you come up with a different promotional schedule. But the week-long stuff has been working for us. And I know we Dream talking with Vicky said these 7-day sales work for me every single time. The other kind of psychological trick in there is they're going to get that notification. People who have favorited the product or added it to their cart or whatever it is, they're going to get that on the first day. Some of them are going to come in and buy it. But again, 70% of people abandon their cart. And so we want to have that a little bit of extra time to be able to recoup those people, whether it's through having our internal marketing set up on Etsy to capture those people and get them to come back before that deadline expires, or just them seeing it through another way that we are promoting it before those 7 days are up. And then that deadline timer kicks in and we're going to start to see those conversion rates really start to go up.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, we are going to move in. We got like 15 more minutes, Chris. So I wanted to, number one, I'm going to bring up that little extra little, that little tip there that we talked about for what we're doing for increasing sales and why we're doing that. And then we'll answer some questions, like I said. But before we do, I think it's Hein that came in and said it's niche is how you say that. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's not how we say it. That's not how I say it. And if we want to get technical, it's right both ways, but it's also, if we're going to say it, Chris, in Spanish, is it nicho?
Nicho.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make.
Sounds more like niche than niche.
I just had to bring that up. I think it's funny. Guys, does it really matter how it's said? You know what it is. I know what it is. we could just say, you know what, you say it your way, I'll say it my way, right? But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I always find it funny that people really just they get really set on the one way that it needs to be said, or at least they think it needs to be said.
And it's only that word. There's a lot of other things that I say very incorrectly, but just niche, nicho. That's the one that seems to trigger everybody, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. But anyway, let's move on to some more important things. Stuff that actually works. So here's what we're doing right now. And I actually heard of a guy doing this. I interviewed him on my podcast, Stephen Chin, and he basically brought up a great point. And this is his strategy. And this is a strategy that I'm applying right now because I understand it and I know it makes a lot of sense. And this is like right now we are, gosh, what are we? We're in August. So we've got September and then we got October. So we're like 2.5-ish, 3 months before Halloween. Right. And so what we're doing is we're planting a lot of Halloween seeds. Okay. A lot of pumpkins, right? A lot of pumpkin seeds. And so what we're doing though, is we are running Etsy ads right now for some of our Halloween stuff. Now, not all of it. We are only running it for products that we feel, number one, have a great profit margin when we raise the price. I'll get to that. But also ones that we know have good demand. Okay. So we're not doing them for everything. We're just doing for the ones that have really good demand. But what he does, and I thought this was great, is he figures out what is his cost for shipping, for printing, Etsy fees, everything. What is that, right? Let's say it's $22. Well, he's going to sell that for $22 and that's it. He's not going to make any profit, zero. And he's going to run Etsy ads and spend money on those Etsy ads. Let's say he spends, I don't know, $10 per day. Okay. So we're going to spend $10 a day. And we're also going to only break even on that product. I say break even. We're probably going to lose money now because we're spending money on Etsy ads. Why the heck would you do that? I'll tell you why. Number one, we want to be established as getting sales on that product. Okay. Remember we talked about earlier about why it's so important to get sales in sales history because Etsy looks at that, your conversion rate, all that stuff. Also, we're going to get people that are going to favorite that item. Okay. They're going to favorite it. What's that going to do? It's going to acknowledge that they like our store and that they're going to start getting notifications from us. That's another thing. Okay. They're also going to see stuff when we put it on sale. All right. Which that thing's already on sale. So they see that. Okay. And it's going to help us get reviews. What does that do? That establishes us as someone that is selling really well on this product for when the traffic comes in full force, we are there and we're the front runner. All right. And so what happens is we're going to do this for a week or two, right? And then we're going to slowly raise our price to our regular price. So the people that come in early, they find our product, they're getting a great deal. Like they're getting a great deal. But everyone else afterwards, they're getting the normal deal, which is, okay, we're going to sell this now for $44, let's say, right? So that's the reason why we're doing that. Really important. And that also is set up as a sale. So if the regular price was 44, we might run it at 42% off, like whatever the number calculates to, right? And then when you're running Etsy ads against that, that's a killer deal. And then you're going to start seeing that you're going to get favorites. You're going to start getting sales. You're going to start getting reviews. And then everything else is going to snowball when we start getting that traffic. So that's something we're doing. It's something that we're experimenting with. I see it working because right now we are getting a lot of favorites. We're getting sales too. Like we just had some sales on some Halloween stuff just the other day, right? So it does work. Another strategy, not for everyone, because a lot of people just want to put products up and do free marketing, right? It's going to be slow. And everyone else is doing the same thing. So that's how we're doing it. That's what we're testing right now. And I think it's working. So just wanted to share that with you for a little Q4, a little bonus hack there. All right. So Chris, let's go ahead and answer some questions. We got about 10 minutes for some Q&A.
Let's do that. I do want to address what you just said really fast and say the wrong way of doing that would be to list at a very low price and then have your shipping set to a higher price so that they're seeing a low price and clicking in. That's a strategy we hear talked about all the time. And that's actually a very big negative from an SEO perspective. Listing at the price that you want to have it in and then discounting using a sale or promotion, like you were just talking about, Scott, would be the way of going through and doing that. We just had a question come in from Latasha Harris. She said, I'm not on Facebook and honestly not interested in being on or selling on Facebook? Would I still be able to join the training camp and get value out of it if I'm not on Facebook?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think what she's saying is like, can you consume the training camp? Because that's where we're going to be kind of doing it. Yeah, we're doing it in what it's more or less a webinar style where we have our own private room. And you don't have to have Facebook, but you do need to have, I believe, Google Chrome, Firefox, and any of the popular web browsers. But yeah, we're going to be basically streaming inside of a private group. But it's not a Facebook group, by the way. Cool. What else we got?
Jennifer, is Q4 all about the holidays, or can I do brand extension or line extension in Q4 as well?
So is it just for the holidays? No. It could be a great time to give gifts, right? So if something is giftable, that's a great time for it. But if you can apply something that is within that season or within that holiday, I believe it's, an extra benefit. But no, if you sell something that is, someone that's going to wear, I love coffee 24/7 shirt, right? And you're in the coffee niche, right? Well, okay, great. So that's going to be able to be sold any time of the year. And it will probably be sold really well in Q4 because people are buying gifts for other people. So if it's giftable, yes, totally. If it's not giftable, probably not as much, but you're still probably going to increase your sales. I know someone that's in the home decor space, and yeah, they sell just regular home decor, for certain styles at Christmas. And it has nothing to do with Christmas. It's just, there's more traffic there. People are buying more. There's certain sales running, it's kind of like Prime Day on Amazon or Black Friday. Yes, you can buy it as a gift, but it's also a time to save some money. So yeah, I think you totally can do
that. Do Etsy ad goals do anything when you pick one? What ad goals do you personally use?
Yeah. So this one here, Chris, as far as like picking and I forget what they actually are. I've looked at them. I don't really pay too much attention to those. I have experimented with them. I think one is for more or less for traffic. One is more or less for conversions. And I'd have to actually pull it up to actually see what it is. And I don't know 100% if there is a difference. Although I think it's more for, if you are running the ads, for you to be able to look at it and say, okay, Etsy, this is what I'm willing to do. But I think still Etsy is going to put it in front of the best buyers. I don't have any data or any type of results for you to kind of give you a 100% answer. I don't know if anybody can, but my suggestion would be test it, right? Like just go ahead and click it, let it run for 7 days and see how it does. And then click the other one, let that run for 7 days and see what happens.
Yeah, it appears to be more of a survey than an actual setting. And I think that's okay for now. I'm sure at some point with all of the things that Etsy is rolling out that it will make a difference, but we haven't noticed a difference. And everybody I know that's kind of played with it and tested it has said essentially the same thing, which is doesn't seem to make a difference. The biggest thing is making sure that you are setting it correctly, making sure that you're setting it up, having your budget, doing all of those kinds of things. To me, your goal should always be to get more sales with your ads. So that would be the one that I select, right? There's like a traffic one, a sales one, just because option. Just select the one that says something about I want more sales and go from there. And then really start to look at the data on the back end to help you figure out and optimize. Dream Talking with Vicky said, I sell tarot readings on my shop now that are delivered digitally. I want to sell print-on-demand products. Should I replace my listings or start a new store? So to me, there's no reason, as long as, Vicky, they're still in the same niche, as long as it's still related to tarot or something related to tarot, that you could sell that in your store. If you're going to start selling hamster sweatshirts, then that's probably not sweatshirts for a hamster, but sweatshirts with hamsters on them. That to me would be a different store, but there's no reason you can't mix digital and physical. In fact, that's something we advocate actively for, that you can do both of those things inside of the same shop, because you have higher margin products and more attractive products to broader markets. And you can mix those two things together and kind of get the best of both worlds without having to manage multiple stores.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Artistic Vista said, I'm young and a little scared that my shop won't make any money. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, I do. I would go to the video that I recorded that if I was to start over in 2023, here's what I would do. And I will go ahead and link that up in the description once we're done here with this live. But if you can just, go to the YouTube channel and you can search it, you'll find it in our library. But that's what I would do. Like, and I don't want to spend too much time here on this, but basically it's like choosing a niche, choosing products that have demand, and then posting products, right? Like in listings that are optimized. And then from there, running some Etsy ads to start getting some initial traffic, start getting those sales, start getting those reviews. But it really does come down to picking the right niche and the right products. That's what it comes down to. So yes, it's going to be scary. It's okay. Anything you do is going to be scary. You don't know if it's going to get results, but the way that you will learn is by doing and taking action, as it says on my wall back here in a couple of different places. I'm a big believer in that. Like, we are only going to learn if we actually do, if we actually take action. So the best advice I can give you is maybe start small, but start, and then just start learning from the data and start learning from the process. And just be excited about the process, because it will most likely change, right? You're going to learn from doing. And then once you do, you're going to be able to adjust. So that would be my advice to you. Yes, it's okay to be scared, but usually when you're scared and nervous a little bit, guess what? There's usually something really good on the other side of that. And that's always worked for me. All right. Just depends on how you look at it.
The wonderful thing about Etsy is that there's very little in terms of financial investment in terms of getting up and running, right? You're talking 20 cents to put up a listing. So it's mostly a time and energy thing. And if you're doing it right, especially from the beginning, you have very little worry about not ever, at the very least, making the money back that you're investing into creating the listings and doing those kinds of things. And especially if you follow kind of just through the 5 steps that we laid out today, I would say that you don't really have that as a worry. Obviously, it's always something that's in the back of your head, but if you're choosing a niche, you're going after it, you're creating products consistently and doing all of those kinds of things, you are going to start to make sales. It's just a matter of when, not if. Scott, do you think branded inserts are useful for building your brand? Personally, I think they can be. It's definitely not a must. And if you're shipping products yourself, that's something that you could include. But to me, I would rather see you follow up and do the customer service stuff. That's a little bit more scalable, especially if you're doing print on demand. There's nothing wrong with including a branded insert, hey, review us on Etsy. It's just an extra little touch point. But to me, it wouldn't be something that's a must. Do you think that's worth the time and effort, Scott? Or is there a better way of doing that?
No, I mean, if you have, like you said, if you're shipping your stuff yourself and you're printing your stuff yourself, then yeah, you should, absolutely put something in there. And that would be to, like, again, let me know, how we did. Go to Etsy and leave us a review. And then also, as a thank you, I'd like to give you 10% off your next purchase. So it's 2 reasons to go back to your shop. So absolutely. Printify just rolled out, some of their vendors are allowing you to add insert cards now, which is pretty cool. Just not across all of the different suppliers. So check into Printify if you're not already using Printify. There's actually inside, I'll put it in the description as well, but you can join premium for 30 days. You can get it free if you go through our link. So check that out. I'll drop that link in there as well. Here's one, Chris, that I wanted to answer real quick here before we jump is, do you think having sales and ads on at the same time are a good idea? Or should you have sales maybe on the 1 week you're going to run ads and then the next week you're not? Like, you're going to alternate, flip flop. No, I believe that you should just run them, give yourself a timeline if you want to, but really, the minute you start those ads and you have your budget kind of set, you're going to be able to start looking at the data and start looking at the analytics and even looking at the keywords that are leading people to that listing. And then you get to train it. So it is going to take some time. I would say at the very minimum, it'd be 7 full days, but I would say even more so 14 days, because then you're going to get real good data coming in. You're going to see what people are searching for. You're also going to see the impressions that are being delivered, which that means there's demand for that product. So that's what I would say. I wouldn't try to flip flop them, because if you do start getting something to work, you don't want to turn it off, right? You want to keep that thing running. So that's what I would say there on the Etsy ad stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. Ads are traffic, promotion, sales. Those are conversion rates. If we can increase traffic and conversion rates, that massively increases sales, which means we get more traffic, which means we get more sales, right? It all comes back to this SEO flywheel that we just keep talking about. Christina over on Facebook said, I just joined. What do you guys use to niche down? So it's kind of a 2-step process. The first thing you're looking for is the idea for the niche. These are going to be things you're interested in. Going through something like the touch list method, where you're just writing down everything that you touch or interact with for a day or two, and then going back and figuring out what bigger groups those apply to is a great way of finding this. Once you have a few of those ideas, then we would use something like Everbee to understand what the sales demand is in that niche, and then we can pick one. So we might not always pick the one with the highest demand or the highest volume, but running it through that lens of understanding what the sales demand is using a tool like Everbee is a great way to start to filter that down and help make us the final decision that's going to get us pointed in the right direction.
Cool. All right, here's what we're going to do. I mean, we still got a bunch of questions. If you guys want us to jump back on tomorrow and do another live Q&A, let us know in the comments. If you're listening to this on the podcast, this is another reason why you should probably go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe over there, because we are pretty active over there. We're publishing at least 2 videos a week that are tutorial style. And then also we are doing these lives. So make sure that you head on over to YouTube and subscribe. If you're already on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button. We really appreciate that. But if you guys would like us to jump back on and do another full round of Q&A tomorrow, we can do that. Maybe carve out 30, 40 minutes. And Chris is here. He's at my house, so we're actually hanging out. We could carve out 30, 40 minutes tomorrow and do that. So if you're interested in that, drop a comment and say, yes, I would love that. And we'll go ahead and consider doing that. In the meantime, though, we are doing a Etsy Q4 training camp, and that is starting very soon. So if you are interested in joining us on that, head on over to brandcreators.com/camp. And we are going to be starting week 1 here, August 9th. And once we start, we're basically closing the doors, and everyone that's in that camp is going to be there for 4 weeks. And we're going to be meeting once a week, and you're going to have direct access to myself and Chris, and you can get direct feedback on your Etsy shop once you're part of this group. So we would love to have you. Head on over for the information and to get enrolled if you are interested. All right. So guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, take care, take action, have an awesome, amazing day, and we'll see you right back here on the next episode. Take care, guys.